how did this happen? Let's get out to the CarX Tire and Auto Guest Hotline. There's a few things to talk to Jesse Rodgers about. World Series and how the hell the Dodgers did this with that pitching staff. It's incredible to me. The new White Sox manager and some of the blowback from the article Jesse wrote and the picture, which has like 10 million views. Jesse's got a picture on his Twitter with like 10 million views. The two idiot fans, and that's what they are. They're idiots. Plain and simple. So let's bring him in, Jesse Rodgers. Where do you want to start, my friend?
Wherever you want. You want to go with the game? Freddie Freeman? What do you want to do?
All right, let's do that because that's the feel good. I mean, the whole Freddie Freeman story is feel good. He was away from this team for a little while earlier in this year when his son was diagnosed with an illness. I believe it's Guillain-Barré. Do I have that right, Jesse?
Yes.
Yep. And he was away from the team. He was super emotional when he came back. Freddie Freeman just seems like one of the good ones, and he's a great player. He lost his mom young to cancer. The story about taking his dad to the hospital when he was a teenager because his dad was having a heart attack or something, and it probably saved his dad's life. Think about that. He talked about how he was he was either 12 or 13, and he was almost orphaned. When his dad got sick and the special bond he's got with his dad, the fact that a month ago he could barely walk, it really is remarkable, Jess.
Yeah, I think there's some other injuries that he wasn't talking about that might come out soon too. Just unbelievable series. He's 35 and he's sitting like this.
Unreal.
He's around Rizzo's age. I mean, and this guy just won the MVP. So he was just great. And that's just a reminder: you need the stars to win because Ohtani's hurting, his swing was messed up from that shoulder. So you go to the next guy, Betts, and the next guy, Freeman. You need even more than one. And we talk about the Cubs and Sox needing to find at least one, right?
Yeah.
So Freddie Freeman was great. The Dodgers were great. They just come at you with offense in waves.
But how'd they do it with that pitching staff, Jess? Seriously, and all the injuries.
This is how they did it. They're able to punt a game in every series. That's how they were able to do it. They were able to punt a game or even two in every series. In this case, it was one, last series two, because their offense is that good. You got to look at the offensive numbers in their postseason is up there with the best of all time.
That's a good point.
So that's the way they did it. They overcame pitching problems with their offense, and that offense is just I was about to say. Next month, he did nothing this series. He was incredible last series. They can trade off who can pick up the slack when other guys are down, and that's what they did in this. And it was Freddie Freeman's turn this time around. It was just amazing.
That's a good point, but with all the injuries they had, some of them late that seemed like they were going to totally derail. The Tyler Glasnow injury, right as they're going into October, it's their best pitcher. And it's how are they going to do this? And I'm driving home from Whiskey U last night, so I had about 20 minutes in the car where I'm listening to the game, and Boog and the guys are talking about man, at some point here, Dave Roberts has to wonder where he's going to turn for pitching, though.
Right.
As that game went on, and they found a way. Oh, we'll just go to Walker Buehler, who has never closed a game and hasn't pitched out of the pen since 2018.
I got an alert on my phone when that happened.
I'm sure you did, Jurko. And they just, and that's what's kind of remarkable about the way they were able to piece it together. So I get what you're saying about the offense and giving them a game in each series to punt. I'm still amazed that they were able to piece together the kind of starts and the kind of bullpen usage that was required for them to win this thing.
No, I don't disagree with you, especially, and this is the reason a lot of us picked the Padres, including you guys, to beat them. They would, just like last year, they didn't have enough pitching last year. Somehow they got it together. They got just enough out of Yamamoto because he was coming back from an injury during the playoffs. Flaherty gave them just enough, not last night, but I'm talking about the whole entire postseason. It was just enough pitching. But think about it. You're up 5-0. You should win that game. But here comes the offense. Now, granted, the Yankees gave it to them. And there's a lot of criticism going to be headed towards the Yankees from Yankee fans here because that team seems a little antiquated. And what I mean by that, 2 years antiquated because they're all slug, no athletes on that team. It's just terrible defense. Only Jazz Chisholm runs the bases well, and he was picked up mid-season. That's a slug-only team, and that's a little antiquated in this new era where athletes are important, especially on defense. What a horrendous defensive team that is. And it showed up last night in a big way.
Terrible. All right, let's talk about the knuckleheads from a couple nights ago and how you. First of all, how did you? Did you go looking for them? Did you stumble upon that? Was it a happy accident? What happened?
No, definitely not an accident. So when it happened, a few reporters, not just me, went down to the seats, but they had already been escorted out. But what was left there was the guy's brother. So a few of us are talking to the brother, and I got the cell phone number of Austin from his brother. And so that was what I needed. So I text Austin. I said, dude, you're going to be the story here. I want to talk to you. And he's like, I'm watching the game at a bar across the street. Let's talk after the game if the Yankees win. He was all concerned about the Yankees winning. So after the game, I text him. I'm like, your story here, I would like to talk to you about your reasoning. Why would you do something crazy like this? And he's like, if you want to come to the bar, I'll be in the bar for another hour. And it was right across the street, Billy's under the train tracks there. So I went to the bar, loud bar, DJ going crazy, all that, packed. I took him in the corner, and I interviewed him. And people were coming over acting like he was a celebrity. And that was the picture that I posted, was a bunch of fans he did not know took a picture with him, and they sent it to me. So I used it to illustrate that this guy has turned into a New York celebrity. And then I interviewed him and wrote a story, which I think the story is really good because the quotes are insane.
Insane.
Why did you do this? It wasn't spur of the moment. Oh, I'm nuts. It was, we premeditate this stuff. You need me on this wall. I patrol this wall. We need to D up. It was insane. That's what reporters do. You go write the story. Now, I understand the picture, okay? I get it. And I called him a beaut, and that was 3 a.m, and I was going to write meathead, and I thought that was too mean.
No, that's what you should have. You should have
put domestic terrorist.
You should have put meathead.
I know. I should have. And I just what? It's funny. I was thinking I'm a professional. I probably shouldn't name call him. So I sort of picked Butte. I don't know. I just felt like I should have said piece of work. That's what I should have said.
Yeah, that's probably better. That would have been a better choice.
I should have said, but it's sorry. It was 3 a.m, and I was just like, so I said, what a Butte, in meaning piece of work. And that's where I guess I'm getting the blowback. So,
that's
but
right.
a lot of people are saying I shouldn't have covered him, shouldn't have wrote the story as well. And I'm like, no. You cover the news wherever it is, and I think people want to know what the heck was his motivation. You find out when you read that story.
Yeah, I get that part of it. I mean, you wrote a story about it. I don't think at any point were you trying to glamorize or sensationalize it. So that's an important note. Yeah,
that's a straight news story, no editorializing. And let me also say this. It goes without saying it's the dumbest thing we've all ever seen.
Ever.
I don't think I need to point that out in every place that I'm going to tweet this or write this. But I probably shouldn't have called him a beaut. I probably just said a piece of work because it's an ambiguous word.
That's an honest mistake. You're tired, long day, 3 a.m. I get it. They can never allow him back into that stadium, can they? I mean, come on.
It's so funny because I really think the Yankees are being kinder than the public, and that's why I was kind of like, they didn't come down with him right away. They didn't come down on him right away when he left. Yeah, they told him you could come back in. Now this was just the security at the door. Now the front office didn't put out anything that night either. It was the next day. I feel like the Yankees were a little reticent to come down on him, and they say they're still going to be discussing. I don't think it's a guarantee he's not let back in.
That's
I don't.
Nuts.
I don't. I think the off season will give it some time. His brother owns the season tickets, not the one that was at the game, someone else. So I don't know. I don't think it's a guarantee, but maybe they'll be talked into it.
I honestly don't know how you can allow him back in. What a complete jag. All right, last thing real quick. Will Venable. I do think it's a very good hire. I think he's an impressive dude. I've heard lots of good things about him from people around baseball. I think he's held in pretty high regard. I like that Chris Getz has tried to find guys like this. I've mentioned it a million times, the Bannisters, the Barfields, someone like Venable. What'll always sink this White Sox, this form and iteration of my beloved White Sox is the owner. I mean, we know that. He's got a lot to overcome. It was incredible how many of the reporters kept saying, why'd you take this job? I mean, he's, I don't know how many times it was like, did you think this is nuts? I don't know who else gets a line of questioning like that when they take a managerial job. But what do you think about the hiring of Venable?
Yeah, well, the best thing about him, and this is what Pedro Grifol did not have going for him, is who he's worked under. Mm-hmm. Alex Cora, Joe Madden, Bruce Bochy, and all those front offices. They're really good, especially under Theo Jed and Chris Young down in Texas.
Yep.
And I think Bruce Bochy probably impacted him the most. If you listen to the interview, just how inclusive Bochy was. I think that was probably the finishing touch to Venable's apprenticeship was Bruce Bochy, because this was the associate manager, Will Venable, and Bruce Bochy just didn't treat him like some bench coach you never hear from, but he included him in the decision-making process for a world championship team just a year ago. So this guy's pedigree is top-notch. Everyone could criticize Grafali, who's in a losing organization for a bunch of years, and that was probably a deserved criticism. You can't say that about Will Venable. Boston won, a little bit when he was there, but certainly the Cubs and the Rangers did. So everything about him checks, all the boxes. Now he just has to do the job. Like leading players is a little different than any other gig you'll ever have, and so we'll see. But he's got all the attributes.
All right, good stuff, Jess. Nice work.
All right, boys.
Take a little break,
You got it.
and then we'll talk to you from what's first, the GM meetings or the winter meetings? The GM meetings, right?
GM meetings. I'm going home today and then flying out Sunday night to the GM meeting. Monday.
When will the first free agent sign? Will it be February 1st or February 14th?
I know. I wrote about Soto last night. I'm writing about a guy that's going to sign in March, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, the smaller ones, you'll get a few next week, but after that, the big ones are going to be a while.
We'll talk at some point here during probably at the winter meetings or something. We'll catch up then, okay, Jess?
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting next week. I mean, both teams. It'll be interesting. So if there's some news, I'll hit you up.
Sounds good, buddy.
Okay.
All right. See
you got it.
There's
See ya.
Jesse Rodgers. He's the best.